Hey guys, PinkPantheress here, and today I have a very special video planned. This video is special because I'm going to be discussing one of my favorite book series of all time. Like, even today I go back and just binge read these because they're just so delicious. The series is, of course, none other than Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Now, what would I have to say about Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you may ask? Well, Greg Heffley is just such a lovely character to many, and to myself included, but he is just so nasty sometimes. The way he treats his best mate, Riley, has just never sat right with me. So many red flags, love. So many red flags. So today I want to attempt to do a deep dive into his mind and see if I can't figure out what would drive him to be such a mean, nasty little boy. But first I'm going to kind of explain this video a little bit. So, I noticed when I was going through and rereading them for the millionth time this month that each book usually has about one main incident. Some books have a few, but I will mostly be talking about the main big things unless I deem another incident worthy of mentioning. Anyway, with that said, let's just jump right into it. So, Greg's diary, and yes, I'm going to call it a diary, not a journal, as he has insisted, because it's a diary. But that paints quite the picture of a lad who just fancies himself at the center of the universe. But honestly, if you scratch beneath the comical surface, you'll find a young lad riddled with just so much narcissism and honestly quite an alarming lack of empathy. So let's start with how he treats his best mate Riley, or actually just analyze how he treats his best mate Riley, because that's usually who's at the butt of every joke. So naturally, we're going to begin with the very first book, which, all-time classic, honestly. But with the very first book, we're introduced to Greg, who, just like me, has a dream of becoming famous. I made it, and I guess you could say he did too, because he has a lot of books about him. But they did publish his diary, so it's kind of giving Alan Frank. But he has a dream of becoming famous. At school, there's a comic strip contest for the school paper, and Greg and Riley decided to create one together, combining Greg's artistic vision with Riley's silly little quips. Here's the kicker. When the comic Zoo-Wee Mama, love it, becomes a massive hit, Greg decides he doesn't want to share the spotlight, so he takes over entirely, completely excluding Riley's contributions and claiming the jokes were his idea all along. Greg, why would you do that? It's giving narcissism, and honestly, I think this is just his fragile ego. You know, he can't stand to not be a genius, and the only genius. He needs constant validation, and Riley's success threatens that. That's proper dodgy, ain't it, bruv? But continue with the first book, we have the infamous worm incident. Now, picture this. Greg comes up with a bizarre game where Riley has to ride his bike while Greg pelts him with worms. Like, why would they do that? I guess it's just Greg's warped sense of fun, but things take a turn when a neighbor catches them mid-game. Naturally, she's horrified and just reports them to Riley's parents, actually. And you know what Greg does? You know what this nasty little boy does? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You guessed it. He just lets Riley take the blame. And you can see what's happening here, right? Like, Greg's unwillingness to face consequences and his blatant disregard for Riley's feelings show a complete lack of empathy. It's a hallmark behavior of antisocial behavior. It's a bit cheeky. And who could forget the infamous cheese touch? There's this manky bit of cheese on the playground that no one dares to touch until Greg and Riley find themselves caught in the crossfire of this childhood superstition when Greg accidentally gets the cheese touch, and instead of owning up to it, he pins the blame on another classmate, ensuring he stays in the clear while someone else takes the fall. That classmate actually moved away, so I guess Greg was alright. So, you know, the secret's safe with us, bruv. But honestly, that's just self-preservation, and not just self-preservation, it's just manipulation too. Like, Greg's need to protect his reputation just overrides any concern for fairness or decency, and it's so sociopathic. So that's all I could find in the first book, really, that kind of like struck a chord with me. So let's move on to the second book, which is like a personal favorite of mine, Roderick Rules. Greg hatches a plan to win the school talent show. His idea is to rope Riley into performing an embarrassing routine where Riley essentially acts as Greg's sidekick. And here's the thing, Riley doesn't want to do it. He's uncomfortable and clearly unhappy about it, but Greg doesn't even care. He just pressures Riley into going along with it anyway. And then when things inevitably go pear-shaped, Greg blames Riley for ruining their act. It's like, Greg, calm down, buddy, okay? Treat your friends better. Honestly, I'm so disappointed in you. You need a spanking. And this one's a bit of a double whammy of narcissism and manipulation. Like, he is just blatantly exploiting Riley's good nature for his own gain and then abandons him when the scheme fails. Right, so let's talk about Greg in sports. Two things that really seem to not mix for the Twiggy lad. So in the third book, The Last Straw, Greg joins the soccer team. Not because he's keen on sports, but because his dad insists he gets involved in physical activities. Typical good dad stuff, you know? I mean, I wouldn't know because my dad left me, but Greg doesn't actually put in any effort during a match. His lack of participation becomes glaringly obvious. Riley, who's on the same team, is actually trying his best. But when Greg gets benched for sacking, he makes it all about himself. He mocks Riley's attempts and throws a tantrum about how unfair it all is. Which, this one's actually a bit of a fascinating insight into Greg's sense of entitlement. He believes he deserves praise and recognition without actually earning it, and instead of being supportive of Riley's efforts, he belittles him. That's just classic deflection. So, we're gonna see a lot of that. We've got the birthday party incident. Greg is invited to Riley's party, but instead of being a proper mate, he spends the entire time trying to upstage Riley. Like, it's Riley's special day, Greg. Don't make everything about yourself. He's hogging all the games and sulking when he doesn't win prizes. He's just so pathetic. Now, why would Greg do this? Honestly, it's just pure jealousy. He can't handle Riley being the center of attention, so he just naturally has to try to make himself the center of attention. It's giving insecurity. It really is, bruv. Like, go play Twisted Wizard or something. Okay, so moving on. Now, in Dog Days, we get another example of Greg throwing Riley under the bus. It's Valentine's Day, and Greg has no date. So, naturally, instead of dealing with this like a mature human being, he convinces Riley to join him on a double date setup with a couple of girls. Greg, you player. You absolute player. But here's the twist. Greg's more interested in his own success and leaves Riley to fend for himself, awkwardly stumbling to the date while Greg focuses on his own agenda. Embarrassing for Riley, but mainly pathetic for Greg. Oh, and let's not forget the wilderness trip either, where Greg and Riley end up at Riley's family's cabin. So, Greg obviously isn't cut out for the rugged outdoors and spends the entire time moaning. And he manipulates Riley into doing all the work and causing trouble for everyone involved. And at one point, Greg even convinces Riley to sneak off and break the rules, leading to absolute chaos. But who takes the blame? You guessed it. Poor Riley. Oh my god. Okay, so moving on again into another personal favorite book of mine, The Ugly Truth. The main incident I found in this book is when Greg gets involved in the yearbook committee, and Riley's picture ends up being less than flattering. And Greg, instead of standing by his best mate, he makes sure Riley's embarrassing photo makes it into the yearbook for everyone to see. I mean, he sacrifices his friendship with Riley for a cheap laugh and a chance to ingratiate himself with the cool crowd. This is just cruel. Is Greg even, dare I say, capable of love? In Cat of Theater, Greg manages to turn even a school play into a self-serving disaster. He auditions for the lead role, convinced he's the next big star. When he doesn't get it, he sulks, sabotages rehearsals, and even criticizes Riley's performance when he gets a small role. And rather than being a supportive friend, Greg mocks him for taking it seriously. Like, Greg, you would have taken it seriously too. It's like, if he can't be in the spotlight, no one can. Just so fake. He is so fake. And so now we're on the third wheel, and this book is actually kind of a tale of jealousy, which I absolutely love. Riley gets a girlfriend, and Greg, instead of being happy for him, spends the entire book sulking and trying to sabotage the relationship. He makes snide comments, mocks Riley's new romantic side, and even tries to steal his girlfriend at one point. It's almost as if Riley getting a girlfriend is a personal attack for him. I mean, I totally get it when my mates get new partners and spend less time with me, but it's nothing to be offended over. If anything, I'm like happy that they're happy, you know? Oh, I just know Greg would have been at the Diddy parties. If he was old enough, of course. Oh my god, I can't believe I said that. I'm gonna have that out. And now finally, we've got Hard Luck. which this isn't actually the last book to date, but this is just the last book that I have and that I've actually read. So when I said I read them all the time, I lied. I only read these up to the hard luck all the time. So in the hard luck, Riley finds new friends and drifts away, which as he should, because Greg's so fake. Greg doesn't take it well naturally. Instead of reflecting on his own behavior, he blames Riley, spreads rumors, and even tries to guilt him into coming back. Like, Greg, that's not how you do it. That's just awful. But Greg's inability to maintain friendships without control or manipulation is honestly textbook narcissism. He doesn't see Riley as an equal, he sees him as someone to dominate. And when that dynamic shifts, Greg just spirals. So, but what do you guys think? Do you think Greg is a narcissist, or do you think he's just a quirky little boy in middle school who has dreams of becoming famous, and Riley truly is his best friend and he doesn't use him at all? Just let me know what you think, honestly, because I'm so curious what you guys have to say. But there you have it, honestly. That's all the research that I did and that I was able to come up with to try and diagnose Greg. I definitely think he, combined with the selfishness, manipulation, and complete lack of accountability, I think it's just like the trifecta of narcissism and sociopathy. Along with maybe some, like, I don't even know. Whatever. Okay, I did my research. Shut up. Go ahead and do your own if you care that much. But thank you for watching, my lovely browse, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.